Okay, so it's really good to be here. It's a shame that Marion and Sheila aren't here because it's really nice to have more feminine energy. So let's do a little bit of a recap. So Mark recently shared some messages to the group, which I haven't had a chance to read properly. I've glanced at them, but probably later on this evening or tomorrow, I'll sit down and actually look at them and go through and pick out the links. But Mark, what are the messages that you shared?
So there was a few things I dropped in. So the one was just the Lacerda file. So for those who are interested, farsight.org has information. There's also subscription. Not that we're recommending that or pressing that for anybody, but that's an option. But I had watched that, and they had a copy of that file, so I just included it there. It's freely available on the internet. So the Lacerda is a supposedly an original reptilian who was here millions of years ago, before the big issue that happened about 60 million years ago when all the dinosaurs kind of went away. So, and they were kind of a dinosaur-like entity, and a creature that was actually on Earth and supposedly and sentient, as opposed to just a dumb, like an animal. What's interesting in that is that she talks about the fact that the destruction that happened during that time was due to a war between their race and other races that were wanting to take over, I guess, the Earth at that time, and it actually created a nuclear winter and destroyed the dinosaurs and a lot of other uh, animals that could not control their temperature. So the apes did survive during that time. A lot of smaller creatures survived that could, had control of their temperature, as we see in archaeology. But as she talked about the fact that their race continued, over millions of years to evolve, and in it she talks about the fact that human evolution, that if we were still just evolving, we would still be just apes learning about fire and that type of thing if we went through normal evolution. What she says is that, soon after, is that what happened on Earth is that, other species, other extraterrestrials came to Earth, and they actually genetically modified humans. They actually corralled 20 to 30,000 ape-like, beings and animals at the time, right? And then took them and then genetically modified them and then brought them back. And they didn't pay much attention to it because it's well, do you pay much attention to ants that are on your, in your lawn, right? That's not what they considered us in terms of our development versus them. And they said that she actually talked about 7 iterations of genetic development of humans. What was really fascinating to me is that she said the last one was around the time of Sumeria, right? Which is about 5,000 years ago. This was 10 years ago, and she's 4,900. I don't know. She has an actual specific date of how many years ago that was that we last got upgraded, supposedly, genetically. And if you go into, if you read about this stuff, there's so many different stories about what happened with us and how we were upgraded or not or whatever. And but so it's very interesting. Just it's another data point. The Farsight folks did show that at least the event happened. It doesn't show that what she said is accurate, but she said, but that event did happen. And it's really up again to our own discernment to agree or disagree with that. I certainly would be, and maybe next week, I'd like to know what the Pleiadians think about the accuracy of that. There's a nice document. Actually, I like Michael Sala. I follow him every once in a lot too. And he put in a document where he talks about the different species of extraterrestrials that have been helping out with either helping or, you know, have their own agendas with you know, people on this on Earth. And he referenced an article, like sort of a research article that he did in 2004 that I'll put into the main group for people to take a look at. At least the link, you know, I'll put the link there so you can look it up, because it talks about, you know, all the different races and how they're, you know, some are helpful and some of course have their, you know, have made the corporate are more corporate, right, and doing things for their own use, for their own resources and things like that. And it's interesting that she talked about copper being the main resource, not gold. You know, like people talked about gold being a main resource, but she talked about copper actually being a main resource, which is really interesting, especially in light of the fact that copper with crystals can create very powerful um, electrical conductors and things like that. I mean, people have been doing lately, have been going online and showing just wrapping, you know, copper wire around a crystal. You can use it for many different things. I haven't done a lot of research into it, but it's fascinating. You know, taking a quartz crystal, you wrap some copper wires around it. You're making, you know, charges. You know, some from, and some can be very powerful, and some can be, you know, smaller. But there's a lot of, I mean, and if you think about the technology and how powerful a quartz crystal and a copper wire can be, and that doesn't really last, you know, very long in the environment. It breaks down pretty easily. Um, you know, it just makes you think that there could have been a lot of technology out there that we just not aware of because of the fact that it was much simpler in terms of than we think. You know, it's not as complicated. We didn't have to have these, you know, big buildings like we do. I mean, they could have been more organic structures and things like that. And anyway, on and on and on, you know. I mean, it's just interesting. The dates she had another date of like the pyramids being 16,000 years old, which I thought was really interesting. So, you know, but no, actually, I'm sorry. I'm not sure that's accurate. So I'd have to relook at the document and see, because they could even be way older than that, actually. Um, but, you know, I mean, the pyramids, of course, we know that they're not built by people on horse and buggy, you know? I mean, it's just laughable, right? Anyone who believes that is just laughable. Yet we all believed it. I remember, you know, reading those books, you know, city and pyramid, and you know, those beautiful drawings of, you know, how they were building the pyramids, you know, with the, and they showed, like, you know, they had all these sand, you know, things going up, and they were bringing the blocks up and stuff like that. So we all thought that's how they did it, right?
You mean
It
they
was good brainwashing material, though.
you mean they didn't do that?
Oh, it's so funny. I mean, and then, you know, it's great. I mean, nowadays they're doing all these megalithic tours, you know, across the across in Peru and Egypt, and where they're showing people, you know, the differences in the construction, the differences in, I mean, you look at the pyramids and when you see the difference in sandstone versus granite, and you see this stuff engraved in granite, which is pristine and sharp, right? And then you look at the sandstone that they may have like put a sandstone, you know, column next to one of the granite ones because, you know, they wanted to use their own propaganda, right? And then you realize, wow, that's a big difference. Big difference. I mean, I don't know. Do you guys know about the I don't know what happened. Do you guys know about these sarcophagi that they found? They're not really sarcophagi. They're just, but they're containers that are just like the one in the big pyramid, you know, in Gaza. Like it's they're done to laser perfection, and there's numerous of them, like dozens of them actually, and they're so precise that only someone with a laser, like they're laser accurate. I mean, that's how accurate they are in terms of the corners and everything. So it's just I mean, it's fascinating, but they keep that stuff under wraps, and people do have access to it and get access to it, but it's not the normal stuff that people access. You kind of have to have connections, or know people, and then they'll let you in.
Would you put a link in the group, Mark, about that if you can?
Yeah, I'll have to look that one up. I'll see. Yeah, I forget what
Okay.
they're called.
Or maybe
Dennis,
people just Google
do
it.
you know the name of what those things are? They're not really sarcophagus, but anyway. I'll see if I can find a link there and put it in.
Thanks, Mark. Or maybe people could just Google it.
Yeah, it was not. I'll look for. I'll try to do a little quick search and see if I can find it.
I do feel Pleiadian energies around me this evening, so hopefully I will be able to channel. I'm finding it quite difficult these days, probably since Christmas, or maybe a bit before then, to balance the energies. But I do feel the energies around this evening, so hopefully.
Can you share more what the issue is with the balancing? Do you mind?
Well, sure. I might just press pause though on the record.
If you want, yeah, that's fine.
Good news. It is something that is going to be more positive and just. It is good news that there is going to be an expansion and higher consciousness, more unity consciousness, more compassion. All that is good. But what is not going to happen is that everyone is going to agree, that everyone is going to come to an understanding of this truth and reality, or an appreciation for us for having known it before or having told them, or not the case. And then you can ask, well, how can they possibly not believe something when they are now being told it in the year 2028 on the, sooner, and they're being told it on the mainstream media, by their politicians and their professors and so on. How could they ignore it when that technology is being used in society and in the community? And so many will be ignoring it. And you go, well, how could that possibly be? Well, look at the kind of mental dissonance that people are able to exist with now. There are people who say this is a flat earth. Crazier, there are people who say, oh, who've fallen into fundamentalist Christian kind of thinking, and say, well, the earth is 2,000 years old, and there was no dinosaurs, and and all sorts of stuff that doesn't make sense, and there's scientific and historical record to prove that isn't the case. And yet there's huge amount of humanity that hold on to those illogical truths. And I assure you that no matter what happens, there won't be that embrace of unity and, oh, well done, Jonathan, and well done, Mark and Pontus, and you had it, No. And I know it, because this is a gift of mine to be able to see where people are at, and to love them, and to see they have all these blocks and unawarenesses, and then with them then is their own true beingness, which is immortal, and that consciousness is linked to source and all that is. And yet here there is that marriage of consciousness of all and mind that is closed, and it coexists. And I have learned quite well to be understanding tolerant and compassionate to that that lack of integration the person has in their
Right.
beingness. But that is part of their path, part of their journey of evolution.
Yes.
And there isn't any magic moments, not called events, not called shifts, not some saviors that are going to change that process. You know,
Yeah.
let's not don't get confused. We're not speaking about, you know, biological, biochemical, genetic entities that have short lifetimes of, you know, 50, 60, 70 years, whatever. No, we're talking about us as immortal beings, individual consciousness, and this is a game, a theater that we have created, and there has been some miscreation and counter creation, and here we are unraveling it and coming back to on a return path to restore our own beingness. And that's what we wanted. We wanted to follow that individual path and not have someone else do it for us or some magic moments. So I'm just saying that I want to agree with this positive view you have and the good news that there is good things coming. But unfortunately, many people that are close to us and that we know and love actually won't be able to experience some of the joy and the freedom that we do because they won't be able to perceive it. They won't be able to have it. And that includes some of my beloved family, you know, it's like who are, you know, intelligent and so well educated, but very much in the matrix. It's going to take a while to unravel that.
Yeah. I just want what's the highest good for all. That's like how I just ask myself, like, if I have this, you know, you can have a conversation with someone and you're like, you know, should I bring up this subject? Should I bring up this and that? And like, well, like what's the highest good for this person? Like, what's the best thing for their development? Like, it might not be about disclosure, it might not be about the nature of reality at all, you know. It's like, and I'm not in a position to like to even evaluate that. So I would just let it be, you know. But this is, it can be a challenge when you're like, you know, I guess this is a type of like ego work.
Yeah,
like what do I want to prove? Like, you know, why? Like, you know.
Yeah, it is so easy to go, you know, see what I see, experience what I experience. You know, did you know I'm right? And but
and
yes.
Of course, like, disclosure could bring with it a lot of positive change. Like, it could bring with it like a less corrupt world, you know, technologies, you know, freedom, unity, and things like that. But like, we seem to have chosen these experiences, so that kind of you know, and people will just continue their individual journeys through all of this. Like, my perspective is that, you know, a life could be about anything. Like, the soul could have planned to just like have a vacation lifetime, could have planned to just, you know, be good at cooking some pasta dish, you know. You know, it doesn't have to be like about these things, and that's like, there's no value in like, it's all equal. So
Can I just add to that? Because I just came in when you were saying that, and I think people that have those types of lives, it's karma, and that's what the you know, it's perfect.
Yeah, I agree.
And
Yes, as it should be. I just want to give space for it, you know, for it to happen, and not interfere with the process.
Yeah, I thank you, Pontus. I really like how you said that, as you're having conversations, this is the highest and best, because sometimes, we are in our own need to share because we just have that desire to have to share, and maybe it's not in the highest or best place to do it, or time to do it, or moment to do it, or because it just, even though it suits our needs, it's maybe not the best for someone else's need at the time.
Yeah. I tend to feel it somehow. I think like you feel it like energetically, like, is this a fit? Like, is this like an actually a constructive thing to contribute to this moment or not? Like, and when the ego like is stronger, like, or like takes the reins, I might say something anyway, and then I pretty quickly realize that, well, no, that's not a fit. Like, that's just like, it will just bounce off, and like it could give me a lesson, because it's like, oh well, why did I even say that? Like, why, what was my motivation, like, for saying that? And all manner of leads to all manner of inner work.
Right. I just turned off my camera for a second. I have to go outside and do something. So, but I'm here.
so what did I miss, guys?
Nothing. We were just talking about some catastrophic, what would happen if there's catastrophic disclosure. And would people who aren't ready for that, would that be really difficult for them to handle? And I think the answer is, yeah, that could be extremely challenging and difficult for them to handle. And so that's something that, and what's going to happen? Are people going to, how are they going to react to that? So I think that's what we were talking about, right? Before you came back.
Remember, in the 60s, 50s or 60s, don't remember when, like, it was late 50s or early 60s when the Foo Fighters were showing up, like, after World War II, like UFOs, like, were showing up exponentially, like, showing up really. And you had this thing over the White House. You had that other big one coming in where they were actually shooting at it, like, with thousands of anti-air rounds and stuff. It was really, and it was before they had set any policy, like the military had set any policy of how to deal with this. So they dealt with it openly. They had a press conference where they said, we were going to look into this phenomenon, and then they did. And then they held another press conference where they were, to inform the public about what they found. And they were just honest with it. They were like, this phenomenon seems credible. There's like an overwhelming amount of evidence that this is obviously real. So, and that had like severe consequences. I mean, there was this guy who killed his family and shot himself because he was like, well, the aliens are here. And, it really had an effect in society, just that press conference. So after that, a lot could have contributed to them changing their policy. I mean, the military-industrial complex did exist then, but they downplayed it after that, changed their policy, and to hush, and it's been that way for a long time in the United States. So just like, I thought it would be an interesting thing to bring up, like it can be too much for if you're like shocked into it, like if it's forced upon you. So these mechanisms of like, you know, the soul having its like process, you know, of where you are rejecting things that you cannot handle, that is a good thing. Like that is a very good thing that we should all support, like not force anything on anyone. But like it's a complex situation, of course, because it's like disclosure is ultimately perhaps something that can create a much healthier society, but like I still cannot say what's the best for any given person, you know, for the things that they need to learn right now. Like I'm I just not, it's just not for me to decide.
I just wanted to add something to that, Pontus, because when you were speaking, what I was thinking about is, well, I wasn't even thinking it; it just kind of came to me. But when you were speaking, what I got, because we were talking earlier about balance, and it came to me about balance, and what I wrote down was balance extremities, 3D and 5D at home and work, because we were talking about that earlier, and the divide seems to be growing between those who are awake and those who are asleep, and it's just getting bigger and bigger. And now I think it's not even, I think it's probably a collective thing where people are, because I know that you also said that you've had times where, forgive me if I'm wrong, but you've also had times where you've been struggling at work, like I have been, with the extremities. And so maybe it is just about balance and bringing in more light and raising the frequency. Although I do have to admit that I have been struggling with that. But isn't that what it's all about, is balance and moving into the higher frequencies, moving into the 5D?
Yeah, I mean, I want balance for myself and also balance for my colleagues. Just like, you know, to create this example of like, are you going to, how much how are you going to be in relation to other people when we have this huge divide? I think about this a lot. I try not to overthink it, because then I try then I try to find intellectual solutions to it, and I have not been very successful at that. That usually just creates a large need to try and control the situation somehow, and I just cannot do that. So just like influencing my own state of mind is the most powerful thing. I just focus on that, and the rest will like start to flow. So, and then you become like, if you're like more content, like in that, if you're content in that, you feel better, then you can just be in that, and it's less about what kind of exchange you have with other people. It's less about trying to enlighten someone, or, you know, because, well, for me personally, I've asked myself many times, can I ever actually know my own motivations for doing anything? Like, am I a type of being that can actually know that? It might be that I can never know that. Like, we have so many deep and complex processes going on, and like, am I trying to just prove something to someone, or am I doing this like from a place of love? Why am I like even talking about Sasquatch in my, you know, lunchroom at work? I just cannot resist. I don't know. Am I just like a dopamine slave? That's the only thing that actually stimulates me? Is like, you know, because I get bored with other things. Like, you know, when you come across all of these amazing, exciting, mind-blowing things.
So
that
I have a question for you, Pontus. So when you're at work and you're sat in the cafeteria and you're talking about Sasquatch, how does it make you feel?
Well, it puts me in a vulnerable position. Like I'm exposing myself, you know. But at the same time, there is this slight chance that I can bring something into someone else's life, you know, that they hopefully they have some kind of interest, you know, might be buried, you know, behind, you know, they might not, you know, dare ask about it, but
how many people do you work with that are in the cafeteria?
well, like 5 people, but I would say two of them are like interested. The rest are like, well, all right, that's your thing. You know, I'm not really interested, you know, and that's you know, sometimes there's just no interest, and that's perfectly fine, you know. It's not that they cannot handle it, it's just like they have focus on other things. But for me, it relates to the nature of reality, like what are they, you know, what's the history behind that, and how is that even possible, or, you know, you get into these possible abilities that they have, and you know, how could that even be? It's kind of telling you know, of where we're at, you know, how something like that can actually happen, exist, because I mean, you have so many testimonies of this. You have DNA evidence, you know, you have the evidence for it, but still, it's like this divide. Like you either like, oh yeah, Sasquatch, yeah, that's a thing, but usually they don't talk about it, or like that's the most ridiculous thing, that like that's the apex of ridiculous things. I used to think this as well about Sasquatch. So it's like this great example of what can happen, like socially, because I think it has a lot to do with social groups and you know, fitting in, and you know, because that's such a jump, you know. So, and the evidence is not like, there's a lot of evidence, but you kind of have to find it yourself, you know. You have to start looking at material. It's not going to just appear. But I like this as well in a way, because you're you know, to have these conversations, even though, you know, you might not you might get a judgmental response, like, because it's like, that's still me, like that's still my authentic self. I'm like, well, screw it. You know? I'm not going to be that, then, well, you know, you can go so much further than Sasquatch, so that's like still, you know, keeping a relative lid on it. But you can feel it somehow when you push too far. It's like, this is not constructive for this person, like this is not interesting. But your situation seems more complex, since you can see things and they're responding to you. So I mean, this is like that's a whole other dimension to it.
But I think
Well,
it was
speaking of Sasquatch, speaking of Sasquatch, are you able to have a view of who's in the participants in this chat at the moment? Because
Yeah,
I'm sure I'm not putting any significance in it, but I just find it very interesting that at the top I have Jonathan and Pontus, and both of them are showing Jonathan's image.
oh, were they?
oh,
Not at my end.
No, not mine either.
And they're not synced. All right, one is a photograph. That's anyway. Isn't that strange? I'm just saying.
It's weird.
So one is a photograph, and then the other one is there's Jonathan moving and smiling.
Might have
And now
something
it's
to
gone
do
black
with
again. Anyway,
might have something to do with why my video is not working. Who knows?
Jonathan?
Maybe. That's strange. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not doing that. Not that I'm aware of. Anyways.
Anyone else see that? I'm a bit of a techie, and I just go, well, that's unusual. That was
Yeah. No,
was-
on mine it's just showing up normal.
I tried
Everyone's
to
their own
upload.
picture, and then
I tried to
That's
upload
strange.
a static,
Hang on.
static image, but
what if I turn off my video? No.
Oh,
I couldn't even upload a static image
No.
like of
no, I wasn't putting any blame on you, Jonathan. I wasn't doing that. I was just, wow, you know.
Yeah, no, that's a strange one for them to sync up. Like,
Couldn't have guessed.
that's weird. That's tech for you.
Yeah, because there you are, and it's just there's your smiley face, Jonathan, and your name tag underneath it, and then also there was Pontus' name in a square, and it was your photograph that was there in it.
They're on to us.
They're your brothers. That's what it is. There you are. Yeah, there's some spiritual affinity. There you are.
Maybe so.
Fair enough. Yeah,
if
sorry to
Marianne,
interrupt, but I just
if
saw that and I
Marianne
thought,
was,
wow, what's going on there? That was it.
Yeah, if Marianne was here, she might be able to give us further insight. She's good at that. She is the gatherer of tribes.
Hmm.
Well,
Where is she, Pontus?
I don't know. I've been pretty busy myself. Last time I saw her was when I helped her move into the house. I think it was 3 days ago, maybe.
Right, let me just pause the I am now.
Okay, good. We can talk about her now. And she's left us recording. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, she put on the recording. Can we stop the recording?
No.
That's funny.
I'm going on
Oh,
mute
wait, I'll
for-
take 5-minute break
Yeah.
during the recording.
Yeah.
Everyone skedaddle.
Will I press pause then?
Do please, yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I should have warned you guys.
No, that's fine. We're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so I have a feeling it might be a short channeling, but I don't know. We'll see. And that's even if I do. So okay, it's yep. Okay, so when you're ready, sit comfortably, hands in your lap, feet on the floor. If you want to take your shoes off, then do. You have time. Oh. Okay. Close your eyes. Get comfortable. feet flat on the floor, arms, hands in your lap, back as straight as you can be. And take some nice deep breaths in through your nose, down to your belly, hold it and breathe out through your mouth, and do that 3 or 4 more times. You may see, sense, or smell, or feel different energies around you. Perhaps Jesus, Pleiadians or Ashtar, Merlin, Archangel Michael, Lion energy, Lyra beings, Wolf energy, Native American spirit guides and ancestors, crystals you were speaking of earlier, very connected to Merlin, very connected to crystal skulls, which some of you should indeed look into. Some of you are very deeply connected to Mayan, Peru energy. Pontus, and also Jonathan. Ancient Aztecs. And the underground tunnels that are now full of water. You have all had many, many lifetimes. We are well aware of JF, who was here earlier. Previously, we spoke through another channel who was well known and well known to us. Many years ago, we spoke through her of Many of you having memories in childhood and remembering things, new memories that you had forgotten, reoccurring. Almost as if you were on two different timelines as a child, which indeed you were. And when Carol reacted just now and said, oh, she was remembering something that she had forgotten, we were showing her something that she had forgotten. She remembered it differently. And this is more relevant now than ever. We would like to remind you that the 6 months of this year and the 7th and 8th months are important for you. Collectively, June, July, August, and September. Great changes coming, as you know. But individually, those of you here this evening, including Soma, sometimes you need to just sit and take stock of where you are now and mentally see how far you have come from where you were and give thanks and gratitude for your journeys that led you here today and that led you to us. There has never been a distance between us, any of us. That is just a false perception. There have been, and there will be, many strange occurrences with the animals, as we have said before, through this one, Soma. There is one that we'd like to share that is to come, which may sound funny to some. We are mostly speaking of large groups of animals with strange behavior. We would like to show you, or warn you is the wrong word. To inform you is a better word. And it may sound funny to some, groups of frogs which you will see on the mainstream media acting peculiar. In rain forests. These will be recorded. Mostly at night, but some in the daytime. There is a shift on your planet. That is affecting all species, not just humans. You are evolving, as all species are, everywhere. We are here to remind you one of the reasons we are here, but not the only reason, is to remind you who you are, why you're here, and where you're from. There is no one on your planet living today that does not have lessons to learn. Whether they are spiritual or not. But you do need to it would be good for you to take stock of where you are today and to see how far you've come. To honor that, to see that, to give thanks and gratitude to yourselves. For how far you have come. Some of you, and we include Soma in this, are so eager and impatient to move forward that you barely recognize how far you've come. Some of you have lessons to learn in balance, in balancing energies, as you were speaking of earlier. And bringing in more light, more love frequency. And when you are in that energy, you are in that energy. And when you are not, you are not. And that is where balance is needed. That is a sure sign that it is a lesson to learn. A soul lesson. Which is deeper or harder or higher than other lesser lessons. It is part of your one of your major lessons in your soul contract to do with balance. There are many of you that have this same lesson. Is that not what ascension is? It is about moving forward and bringing in the higher energies or our energies into the 3D that will loosen the earth of the 3D. Because by you being here, you increase the energy of the planet. Whether you are speaking to two people at work in lunchtime, the more people you can reach, the better it is for us, for you, for humanity. Ascension is about moving forward, creating a higher frequency on earth, and that is what you are doing, whether you are struggling to find balance in it or not, is a process which you will achieve, because the energy you are in cannot be stopped, cannot be controlled, cannot be curtailed, cannot be manipulated or dumbed down or controlled anymore. You are no longer slaves in the way that you once were. There may be an illusion of that, but the energy on earth has shifted. You are sovereign beings. You are free. Many of you still call it a prison planet and have the perception that you are governed and owned and controlled and manipulated and dumbed down and brainwashed. But you are exactly where you are meant to be in order for ascension. You are well prepared, well abled. You are not from here, and you have had many thousands of lifetimes on this planet and others to prepare you for ascension. So these lessons we speak of now, that you were speaking of earlier while we were listening in the background, may feel like big lessons, which they are, but they are minute in comparison to the lessons that you have learned previously in previous lifetimes, over many lifetimes, after lifetime, after lifetime, after lifetime. So they may feel overwhelming to the likes of Soma and others, many others, but they are, in fact, not as big or overwhelming or important. Is probably the wrong word. Surmountable is a better word. You are learning to balance. You are learning collectively to move forward into ascension, which is why so many of you are struggling to balance the energies in whatever form or way that is happening for you individually. With Soma, it perhaps is work. With others, it will be in other areas where you are perhaps struggling with the feminine and the male, the feminine and the masculine energies, or perhaps you are struggling to balance other energies, the fire energy. But that is what ascension is. It is a balance of energies that will move you forward rapidly. Which is one of the reasons why we are explaining or showing you that you do need to give thanks to see how far you have come. Many of you have taken on a great challenge being here in this lifetime. And it has indeed been challenging for many of you. You are here to lead. We heard you speaking of those with perhaps easier lives. Easier tasks. Perhaps cooking. We would say that this is, or that type of life is a resting period that is needed for that soul. That is needed for that soul, for that individual soul to be in a state of respite in this lifetime where things are easy. Things are mundane is the wrong word. Comfortable, easy, less challenging. An easy drive, we would say, on a sunny day with an easy breeze. And for some others, there has been great turbulence. It is in the turbulence, but it is in the turbulence where you learn the most and propel forward quicker. That is not what is needed for every soul. Some souls need respite, and an easy drive. It is not about comparing easy lives or challenging lives, but it is about what is best for the soul, for the individual soul's journey in this lifetime. Many of you, thank you, many of you understand this and are relaxed with that, which is as it should be, without jealousy, without judgment. The grass is not greener on the other side. It is just different. And it may be different in the next life, or the previous one, or the previous one, or the previous one, or the next one, or the next one, or the next one. Whether that will be on earth or not, we cannot say. There are new beginnings coming for so many of you. So many of you. Including those here this evening. Including those who are normally here in these meetings or teachings or connections. New beginnings, changes. We see D and this one. Let us say it this way. If she is reluctant to say the place, we see them in a warmer climate. New changes, new challenges, new beginnings. New words to write, mark. Books to be published. Some of you are reluctant to pick up microphones, to create websites. Some of you are reluctant to be seen, to be heard. How could you not be? Given some of your past lives. Let go of fear. Let go of denial. Speak up. Stop hiding in the shadows and come out of the spiritual closets that you are in. Hiding away. Each and every one of you that has a connection to us has a connection to Jesus. Let us say that again. Each and every one of you that has a connection to us, Pleiadian energy, has a connection to Jesus. And Mother Mary. We would like to end this channeling or teaching by reminding you of one of the messages or informations that we shared at the very beginning regarding the frogs, which may sound funny to some, that we would talk about frogs. But we have said many times that the animals on earth will begin to behave strangely or oddly, begin to do things they have not done before. We would just like to remind you of this. And balance is needed. And the way that you create that balance, we are not saying it is easy. Ascension is not an easy process. It is a rebirth of you, collectively, of humanity. You are moving into a higher frequency, a higher energy, a higher state of being, a higher space, a higher awareness, a higher everything, including your bodies, which are also evolving physically. Your DNA is changing. We do not need to repeat this information again now. So balance is created through the love frequency. That is how you navigate these times that you find yourself in, whether you are called Soma or Dennis or Mark, Pontus or Jonathan or Marianne or Sheila or Michael. That is how you navigate ascension, by stepping into the love frequency and holding that for as long as you can. And then when you find yourself being pulled or falling out of it, to simply step back into it and hold it like a breath. And then when you find that process repeating itself and you fall out of it again, you simply step back in and step back in and step back in and step back in. An easy way to do this is meditation. And breath work. And used simultaneously are more effective together, more potent. There are many other ways. But we would say that for you now at this moment, this is perhaps one of the easiest ways to do so. Many of you use the in-between state, in between being asleep and awake, as a meditative state, as a way to connect with us, as a way to tune in into an altered mind state. Get back on track. It is simply a lesson to learn. That is all it is. A collective lesson for humanity. That is what ascension is. An evolutionary period. Of learning to navigate into a higher frequency, which is love. That is why you are having these lessons. Of learning how to balance. You have forgotten that you are masters at this already. Let us repeat that. You have forgotten that you are masters at this already. Who do you think we are? Who do you think you are? We love you. And love wins. Prepare yourselves for the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th months. Brace yourselves. Prepare your energies for change, for growth, for movement forward. Which will not come smoothly. It is not an easy ride for you. Foundation, balance, stability. Is needed for the year ahead. Stability, foundation is needed for the year ahead. For great changes, great growth, you will see ugliness being exposed, or rather the darkness being exposed. And it may seem or appear like the light is losing, but it is not. It is simply that the dark has a light being shone on it and is being exposed for what it is. Your world is not what you thought it was, not what you think it is. Your governments are not who you think they are. We thank you not simply for being here this evening, but for taking on the contracts that you have. Not just those that are with us in this group now, but those that we will reach in the future. And Michael, we are with you. Surinder, we are with you too. We are with all of you in this group. Who do you think we are? Who do you think you are? There is no difference. You are individual aspects of us. Before we leave this evening, we would like, if Dennis is willing, for him to share perhaps in a coming back from the meditation or some grounding, if he is willing. Dennis?
Okay, thank you. We can do grounding exercise. So let us take in some breaths. Breathe in deeply through the nose. Hold that breath for a moment. And then expel it fully. Release that breath. And do the cycle. Breathing in deeply. Holding that breath. And then releasing the breath. And so we breathe in that prana and chi, the life force that surrounds us. Hold that in our body. And breathe out. Thanks. Very good. So I want you to come up with an idea of love, of appreciation, of thankfulness for Mother Earth.
Yeah.
Very good. And to feel that in your heart. And now, with this feeling of love, thankfulness, appreciation for Mother Earth that we can feel in our heart, to drop a cord of light and energy from your heart down through your body into the earth. There is no force or push needed on this. It is an energy of love from your heart, and it goes down through your body, through your chakras, out to your legs, into the earth, deep into the earth, into the earth's center heart temple. Very good. Now the earth receives your gift, it receives your light, it receives your energy. Mother Earth knows you by name and greets you by name for sending your love and light. Mother Earth thanks you by name for thinking of her and sending your love and light. And now Mother Earth from her heart responds by sending a beam of her light and love from her innermost being, from her heart, her temple, and sends it up through the earth, and it comes into your body through your feet, up through your base chakra, your sacral, your tummy chakra, up through your solar plexus, heart chakra, and you can feel that, fill your body. And now in that moment of fullness, in this moment of love, in this moment of communion, you are grounded. Here you are consciously stepping into your natural connection with Mother Earth. And put your hand over your heart. Feel this expansive energy that you have within you, and take in some breaths here to give thanks for this connection that is always available to you, that is always available with you and for you. So breathe in deeply through your nose. Hold that breath and release it. And do this a few more cycles. And as you do, you can feel your own chakras energize, balance, and light up. This energy moves from your heart chakra. It moves up to your throat chakra, to your middle eye chakra, to your crown chakra. and your body is being balanced, aligned, activated. Your aura is being cleansed, is being energized, is being balanced. And here you are grounded. You are connected. All is as it should be. I'll just say a short prayer. We are all one. When one is harmed, all are harmed. When one is helped, all are helped. Therefore, in the name of who I am, and I am one with all there is, I hereby ask for the greatest good of all here concerned. I give thanks that this is done. It is so. It is so. And there you are. And open your eyes. That's it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thanks.
Thank you, Pleiadians. And thank you, Soma.
There was something that while I was coming up the stairs, I wanted to say thank you to you guys, because you really do mean a lot to me. All of you. Does anyone want to share anything about anything or tonight, or how would anyone?
All good. Thank you. Appreciate you too.
Yeah, this group means a lot to me too. I cannot explain it. I got a lot of heart activation today as well. And I remember that I actually got that the first time I attended a meeting, and you channeled the Pleiadians. So it might be their energy, or our energy and their energy. But it's certainly a potent thing. And think I will try to be in a greater gratefulness going forward.
Me too.
And remember how far we've come.
I think that I'm just going to turn the recording off.